Welcome to Confused Reviews, where a cartoon drawing reviews movies. And I don't know about you, but I love horror movies. And I'm fully aware that horror films aren't usually seen as masterpieces in the eyes of critics. Obviously, A Nightmare on Elm Street isn't better than The Godfather, but they're both great in their own way. And one film series that started off by showing in the first two installments that horror movies can be both terrifying and wonderful at the same time, that being the Hellraiser franchise. But I then realized how the third film seriously dropped off in quality after the first two were both fantastic horror films. But, as time has shown, rarely does a series create a third film that is as good as the first two, with a few exceptions, of course. So, I want to see what happened here and why the third film turned out the way it did. This is Hellraiser III, Hell on Earth. So our tale begins in New York. Actually, that's where the entire movie takes place, so the Hell on Earth title is completely false. Already off to a brilliant start. Anyway, JP goes into the Pyramid Art Gallery and buys a statue where Pinhead now resides after being killed off in the last movie. But instead of answering some of the questions it raises, we just cut over to Joey Summerskill, who is literally reporting nothing.
No story, no life. Really, really pissed off.
Again, off to a wonderful start. Wait a second, see that 8 on the microphone? She probably works for ESPN The Ocho. Lady, don't you have a dodgeball game to be reporting on? Oh wait, different movie. After seeing an unknown nurse creepily put surgical equipment on the table, a patient with chain wounds is brought in. Wonder who caused that. Anyways, we meet Terry, who Joey attacks with questions and doesn't even let her answer them.
The boiler room? What is the boiler room? Where is the boiler room?
Why don't you let her answer one of your questions before bombarding her with more? We then see the patient's head explode. Because Cenobites. Joey then goes to the boiler room, which unfortunately doesn't have Freddy Krueger in it, and is instead a shitty nightclub. And even more unfortunate, we are subjected to some more terrible, douchey dialogue from JP. Then the movie turns into Saving Private Ryan. Oh wait, it was just a dream from Joey about how her father was killed in Vietnam. Cut to JP, who hears a noise coming from inside the statue, and instead of shining a light into it, or I don't know, poking at it with a stick, he does the dumbest possible option and blindly sticks his hand into it, subjecting himself to being bitten by the rodent that was inside. He flails his bitten hand around trying to get the rat to let go of him and splashes blood onto the statue, awakening Pinhead. But before we have any of the good Cenobite stuff happen, we cut back to Terry and Joey, making breakfast. Terrifying. But no need to dread on that, we have more important things to discuss, like how Pinhead wakes up to see JP banging some chick from the club. Wait, a slasher who detects when people are having sex? Reminds me a lot of a certain someone. Man, this makes me want to go watch a Friday movie. Actually, scratch that, chains come out of the statue and literally rip all of her skin off, and devours her. But then JP tries to shoot Pinhead. That'll totally work. So Pinhead decides to make JP his right-hand man. Let's see how that turns out. Only fantastic, I presume. While watching some tapes, Joey is interrupted by Elliot Spencer, and if you can't already tell, it's Pinhead before he became Pinhead. Meanwhile, Terry goes to see JP, which means she's either going to die or he is. Who do you think will? Email your answers to I-don't-care-about-your-answer or this movie at pinhead.gov. But no time for that, we have more Vietnam flashbacks to go through. Wait, what the hell? Did the Ring just invade my movie? No, it was just Elliot Spencer begging for Joey's help. But honestly, you'd probably get more help from a rock with googly eyes glued onto it. But now we finally get the answer to who Pinhead's next victim will be. If you pick Terry, you'd be wrong because she feeds JP to Pinhead, finally releasing him from the statue. Or in other words, the movie finally begins. After that, Joey walks into a dream, I think? Where she sees Elliot Spencer again. He explains to her how he became Pinhead, reminding me that I could be watching Hellbound instead, but also tells us how she needs to stop Pinhead. But of all the people you could have asked to help you, this is the dipshit you chose? Well, might as well mark the world down as royally fucked. But on a higher note, all the weird art shit comes alive and tears up the club.
Shall we begin?
After around 50 people are killed, Joey sees it's being reported on TV. But wait, the TV wasn't even plugged in.
What a twist! Snooks ditto!
Joey heads down to the club and meets Pinhead. She realizes Pinhead can't touch the box and she runs away with it? Wow, Joey actually doing something intelligent? That's a new one. Joey runs through the streets and meets her cameraman, Don, who's now the camera Cenobite and the CD Cenobite. who kills the taxi driver. Fun fact, he was actually stabbed with a DVD copy of Taxi Driver. And last but definitely least is the flamethrower barbed wire Cenobite. I swear to God, the writers of this movie probably just wrote some nouns on note cards and threw darts at them to see what the new Cenobite designs would be. The CD Cenobite kills one of the cops. We all know what CD that was.
Coming straight from the underground.
The flamethrower barbed wire Cenobite throws gasoline on them and they just stand there. Come on guys, you had a solid 10 seconds before he spit the fire. You could have avoided that. Joey goes to church and Pinhead melts the cross in the priest's hand. Pretty badass if I do say so myself. He then stabs himself in both of his hands with 2 of the pins from his skull and does his impersonation of Jesus. The priest gets angry and for some retarded reason decides to fight Pinhead, resulting in him being force-fed some of Pinhead's blood, which I presume has a spicy barbecue taste to it. Damn it, now I have a hankering for ribs. Anyway, Joey runs off to the construction site where she sees Terry, who is now the lung cancer Cenobite, and JP, who is the piston Cenobite. Joey then touches the puzzle box once and it solves itself, for some reason, and banishes all Cenobites back to hell.
Is that it, Elliot?
No, there's still 6 movies left with the 7th on the way. But because this is a horror movie, the 4th act begins with Joey being able to see her dad. But big fucking surprise, it was actually Pinhead. But before Pinhead can stab her, I mean, he used chains this whole movie, so I don't know what's stopping him from using them now, but it does give pre-Pinhead Elliot Spencer ample time to show up and stop Pinhead. Oh, now you decide to chain her up, unlike you could have done 5 minutes ago and she'd be dead right now. He puts more leather shit onto her and says,
You love this as much as I.
but I don't think Elliot's into gimps that much because he drops the box, causing the 2 of them to morph together. Now the fate of the world is in Joey's hands. We're fucked. Actually, no, she makes the box into a knife thing and stabs Pinhead, banishing him to hell. She then puts the box into some of the building's concrete, destroying the puzzle box forever. Or until the next movie where he goes into outer space. But after the building was finished, it turns out the building's interior is designed after the puzzle box. Wait, what? And, well, that was Hellraiser 3, and all I can say after viewing it was, what the hell happened? For one, I didn't give a shit about any of the characters except Elliot Spencer, and for all I care, they could have died and I wouldn't have lost a wink of sleep over it. The only character that did something and was interesting was Elliot Spencer, and unfortunately, he's barely in it. His completed backstory was a refreshing plot point and finished what Hellbound started. Another thing I didn't like was the Cenobites. Like I said earlier, they could have easily just put some nouns on flashcards and threw darts at them to see what the new designs would have been. Because honestly, they were pretty weak besides Pinhead. On that note, Doug Bradley was amazing in this movie. Once he was out of that fucking statue, you can tell he's having a blast with this movie, and that alone bumps this movie up a notch or 2 in my book. So in conclusion, I'd have to give this film a C. If the characters were better and the other Cenobites didn't suck, this could have been better. But it's honestly an average movie for me. I'm just glad I reviewed this movie, because it's honestly all downhill from here when it comes to the Hellraiser movies. Hopefully Hellraiser Judgment is a nice reintroduction to the series. I'm Confused Reviews, thanks for watching.